Christina Weber. Christina has more than a decade of experience in both private and nonprofit sectors focused on environmental sustainability. She's Regional Vice President at Interface, Inc., which many of you will be aware of. It's the world's largest manufacturer of commercial carpet tile. She aligns Interface's sustainability efforts and initiatives with their largest global customers to find more sustainable solutions. Previously, she led sales and business development for a group called Sustainable Industries, a media company, and she also served as Director of Development for Architecture for Humanity, an international nonprofit, and she's immediate past board chair for the U.S. Green Building Council's Northern California chapter. She's based in San Francisco. So please join me in welcoming Christina Weber.
Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there. Nothing like being between the Aussie with the great accent and a cocktail reception. So I am going to go quickly, both because I have a flight and because there's cocktails waiting for you. But clicker. Okay. Thank you for the introduction there. Does anyone know Interface? In the audience, you've heard of the brand? Nice, good. Okay, that makes me really happy. We are the largest manufacturer of commercial carpet tile. We were founded in 1973 by a man named Ray C. Anderson. And today we operate 5 manufacturing facilities in 4 continents with 3,500 employees around the world. And aside from doing all that, I think we're probably more well-known for our reputation in sustainability, and that's something that we're all very proud of who work for Interface. Certainly the reason I joined them, as is the program I'm about to tell you about. I was Director of Development at Architecture for Humanity 5 years ago, I guess, 6 years ago, and I was watching Interface try to pull off the Networks program, and I said if they can do that, they can do a lot of things. And I've been excited to be a part of it for the last 3 years. So this is what we make. We've been on our sustainability journey for 24 years. It was 1994 when our founder, Ray Anderson, was posed this very challenging question that just went away from the screen. Is something happening? Oh, that's all right. Doesn't matter. I think it was good. Yeah, no, I think it was me. It was a Southern California customer, actually, a large utility based down here, who was a big customer of ours, and they called up Ray Anderson and they said, what are you doing about the environment? It was 1994. He didn't have an answer. There wasn't really a good answer, certainly for a petrochemical, water-intensive, energy-intensive manufacturer in Georgia. This was well before corporate sustainability began. But he took the question to heart, and it was that same time that he was reading The Ecology of Commerce by Paul Hawken, which many of you might know as the seminal text in environmental business, proving that business has a role and a responsibility to do no harm. So Ray took Interface in a completely new direction in 1994 to change the way that we manufacture carpet and to prove the business case for sustainability. And we set an internal pledge called Mission Zero, and it was that by the year 2020, we would eliminate all negative impacts we have on the environment. And 24 years on, we've done a lot. It's certainly spurred almost all of the innovation that's occurred in the last 2 decades, that promise to get to zero by 2020. 2 innovations that I want to be sure to share with you are around recycled nylon. It was 1997. There was no recycled content in nylon for any carpet manufacturer. Ray had all of the nylon providers come to a meeting and that was actually held in Hawaii, which has a whole nother story to it. And he said, the first who can develop recycled content can get our business. And they all said it couldn't be done until it was, And our two suppliers of nylon today are the two that came to the table. And 60% of what Interface puts on the market today is 100% recycled nylon. The second big innovation is we had to find a way to take 30 years of product that was all around this world on the ground and or on the floor and turn it into new product. And we invented that technology. And it's been iterated many times over the decades. And this machine is one of our latest, but it's essentially separating the top of the carpet from the bottom of the carpet and downcycling fiber into fiber and turning backing into backing. We've done over 350,000 pounds of that process, and I've so appreciated this conference because there's so many things. We could just talk about recycling carpet at this audience, but we're going to get to something a little bit even more inspirational. But if only that could be mandated, that there would be some traceability on recycling carpet. If customers I spend a lot of time asking customers to ask us to prove that we're turning carpet back into carpet, that it's not being incinerated, that it's not just being dumped in construction demo. So we need more regulations on that. And this is all in our effort to close our loop. And you've heard a lot about closing the loop today, so I won't go into that. Here's our metrics towards 2020. These are pretty remarkable for the size of manufacturing company that we are, but GHG emissions down by 92%, and of our raw materials, 63% of them are recycled or bio-based. And we now offer the lowest carbon option on the market by far to our competitors, and a lot of that has to do with our supply chain innovation. So Mission Zero is all about doing no harm, and we're really, as a company, moving towards doing more good and really realizing Ray Anderson's vision of being a restorative enterprise. And in 2016, we announced a new mission for our company called Climate Take Back, which is essentially a mission that's going to take the issues of climate change head on. And it's got 4 pillars associated with it. Living Zero, which is not only hitting our Mission Zero targets, but going beyond. Loving Carbon is looking at carbon in a new way in our manufacturing system, seeing it as a building block in our product. So we're really doing a lot of R&D on some of the same technologies you heard from Ford as well. Letting Nature Cool is a really big initiative about our manufacturing facilities, getting them to emulate nature. We've done decades of work in biomimicry and biophilia, and we're trying to replicate the positive benefits of a forest through each of our 5 facilities, and this has been piloted in Australia, actually, with great success. And then leading the industrial re-revolution, which is what I'm going to talk about today, because the Networks program lives within this pillar. So 5 years ago, still well on the way to Mission Zero, we started looking at what it would mean to have a supply chain that could benefit all life. We had learned from our yarn suppliers that the most abundant quality source of recyclable nylon was fishing net. You've heard a ton about marine plastics today. 640,000 tons of fishing gear is disposed of annually, and the bulk of that is nylon net. So, can a carpet tile have anything to do with that huge environmental problem and the very desperate social problem that those nets cause? It's not just an environmental problem. When they ghost fish, they actually wipe out the stock that the fishermen rely on in some of the most impoverished coastal communities in the world.
The livelihoods of the people in this part of the Philippines is completely dependent upon the sea, one way or another. Anaheim Bank is now one of the most degraded coral reefs in the world with some of the highest fishing pressure. Fishers use, especially in the Philippines, use a lot of monofilament nylon nets. It's when discarded nets get into the marine environment and they just hang around. They can last for 600 plus years.
This is a really high-performance engineering plastic. You know, nylon 6 is in our carpet. It's also in lots of other products that people will use every day. So we want to make sure that material can be used again. Networks is a program that takes discarded fishing nets from impoverished communities and recycles them into carpet tile.
The idea is to collect discarded fishing nets off the beaches or get them from fishers as soon as they have finished using them.
What's really important about this program is that it's not a one-shot beach cleanup for some nice pictures. It's actually about how do you institutionalize nets and ultimately other material recycling in communities in a way that benefits them in the long term.
Hilaw man ako nga someday moabot ra gid ang panahon nga mahurot ang tanang pukot diri sa kawayonan. Kay daghan naman nga mosundog namo.
Mga sample nga gihatag nga gipatan-aw namo dire. Ako nakita nga dako diri kay mahimo ang maong pukot.
The product is still our product, beautiful carpet tile. It will look the same, but there'll be this story behind the material. This to me is the start of us being a restorative enterprise. We're giving back and giving opportunities that are way beyond what maybe people would think a carpet tile company could do. And this is only the beginning.
And that really was only the beginning. Like I said, that the program launched in 2012. That video, I think, was 2013. So I'll cover 4 of the main things that we believe makes the Networks program work, and then some of the lessons we learned to share with you. Number 1, waste becoming wealth. It was mentioned earlier, volunteerism doesn't exactly incentivize behavior change when it comes to recycling or awareness around what these materials can be or the value they can hold. So one of the first things that makes this program work is that the collaboration of Networks, which is between the Zoological Society of London, our largest Nylon 6 provider, Aquafil, and Interface, was to pay a competitive commercial price for the nets. So the villagers that are collecting the nets see incredible value, and it's changed their behavior. Not only are they, like the video said, baling and reclaiming all the net on the coastal edge, they're proactively getting net because it's a diversified stream of livelihood for them. Second was that the net be baled in a way which is very low energy. It's no energy, actually. It's there's some pictures in the video there of the baling being done, but that it was done in a way that was suitable for access to the mainstream supply chain, so that, again, the price they were paid was treated just like a corporate, corporate seller into Aquafil's supply chain, if you will. Third, community empowerment. These villages, 36 on the coast of the Philippines, none of which had access to finance in the community. So we created the community bank. That was a big part of what Interface did. And essentially those are comprised of savings groups that are run by the community for the community. They meet locally and routinely. They decide on their most important initiatives, which leads to the next thing that really makes this work, is the engagement on the conservation side. The communities have become incredibly engaged. This is a reborn mangrove in an area that was completely covered in net 4 years ago. And not only is our mangroves obviously a wonderful carbon sink, but they're a breeding ground for juvenile fish. So they've seen the fishing stock come back, and now they're asking to set aside some of their savings for the next environmental program. And this is, none of this environmental or conservation work was being done prior to this. It was sort of fish as much as you could fish, and the nets were obviously everywhere. So here's what we've accomplished in 5 years. Over 1,500 families now have access to finance through the community banking system. The program has expanded to 36 communities across both the Philippines, and we're newly into Cameroon. And then we have, this is the first time anyone's heard this, but over 142 tons of net has been collected to date, and that's enough to go around the world twice. So our goals for our 2020 mission is to provide 10,000 families with community banking to improve the marine life for over 1 million people and to protect 1 billion square meters of ocean and coastline. The lessons that we've learned that we really want to share with as many people as we can, these programs must make business sense. I mean, we're obviously $1 billion public corporation, and for us, this works because it has everything to do with our core competency and our primary raw material, nylon. And we had the yearning initiative and goal to have a supply chain that would have both a social and environmental impact, and this program helped us achieve that. You just heard this as well, but the power of collaboration and somewhat unusual partnerships. It's very unusual for a public corporation to be this tied to both a conservation charity and then our largest supplier. So in this program, through networks, we are supplying our supplier with their material that we then are buying back 100% of. So we just are incredibly grateful for both of these partners, because I think without the collaboration, this program would have fallen down probably at the very early stages and at the community level. And then finally, this was built to be scaled and to be replicated in very different locations around the world. So these first, solid 4 years working in the Philippines has taught us so much, and we have this blueprint for a business model that really can be replicated. And we've expanded now into Cameroon, which is obviously a completely different area, and we've been able to set up much quicker and replicate things because of the lessons we've learned there. So it's proven it's worked. We're very fortunate to receive many, many accolades for the program. The U.S. State Department just gave Interface a award for corporate excellence on ocean management for the Networks program, which was just amazing. And this has been a real differentiator in our company, both for the associates who work for Interface, but also for our customers. We definitely have been able to share the network story as a means to differentiate ourselves from competition or being viewed as just another commodity in the workplace. And it's provided a social story to one of the highest visual impressions you get inside a building, the carpet. We're designing and building for millennials in the workforce today, and I certainly work with the largest tech companies up in Northern California, and that workforce expects there to be very responsible and socially minded products being used to build out their spaces. And so it's been really neat to see our customers become brand ambassadors, even beyond our awareness of the Networks program. There are towers in San Francisco, actually, that just show that video all day long to tell their employees that there's something about their carpet that's different. And I think that's really galvanized support for the program in a new way. So what's next for us? There's a lot of exciting ideas that have been generated in this room and connections that should be made. But number one, we're expanding. We want to set up networks in many more communities. Obviously, we all know that the abundance of the net and the marine waste is a huge issue, and there's no shortage there, but there is a cost to the setup of every new site. So we are actually looking for funding partners on expansion sites. We're also looking for end users of the other material that can easily be collected through this existing supply chain. So obviously a lot of PET, HDPE as well. The supply chain mechanism is already there, so we're looking at partnerships that may want access to that material that's easily able to be collected. And then finally, big data. We're looking at, I think we already talked about a couple, heat mapping technologies for sourcing waste sites, and also tracking mechanisms for our local impact in the communities. So I think that's it. Thank you.